about 8 years ago, we did some original research down at the Lizard estate, where I was really interested in and curious about finding a new way of working and leading. And as part of that, I got to meet Cathriona Hallahan, who at the time had sent her HR leader down to us, and they were Cathriona was interested in a new way of leading, which coincided with some research work that we did in Lizard, where in our research, in one of our very first dialogues, we recognized that leading and the way we were working wasn't really working, and that there was a desire for a different type of leadership, a more conscious, more aware, more empathetic leader. And if we led from that way, would it lead to more effective teams? Would it get results? And as a previous commercial sales driver, I was really, really curious, would it have an impact on the bottom line and sales? However, I was really, really interested in meeting a leader that could lead the experiment with me, that was sincere and genuine. I wasn't really sure that person existed, but Caitríona's HR lead at the time convinced me Caitríona could do it. So we've had lots of fun and lots of crack and experiments and tears over the last 8 years, but I'm gonna hand over to Caitríona. I certainly wouldn't be standing here doing what I'm doing, or sitting, I suppose, without Caitríona and without her leadership team. So it's over to you, Caitríona. So thank you. So feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Caitríona Hallahan. I spent 35 years of my career with Microsoft, and the last 8 years as managing director for Microsoft in Ireland. And I retired last September and have now started a portfolio career with as a non-exec director with a number of different Irish companies, and I'm really enjoying that experience. But as Niamh said, we met about 8 years ago. Microsoft at that time was going through a massive cultural transformation. Satya Nadella had taken over as CEO, and he was trying to bring in a new way of working and introduce this idea of a growth mindset. So how do people have curiosity and move the company from being a know-it-all company to being a learn-it-all company? So that level of curiosity. So when Colette went to Lizard and met Niamh and the team, she came back and said, I think this is something that would really be interesting to you, because I had come into a leadership team in sales that were very dysfunctional. They were very competitive. They wanted to outdo one another. There was no level of trust in the team. There was no purpose for the team. They didn't have a shared vision of what they wanted to achieve. And I wanted to push the team out of their comfort zone. Before taking on this role, I had decided to leave Microsoft and was asked to come and do this particular role. So I came into it with a level of freedom to be able to try new things and experiment with my leadership, because I had nothing to lose. I had already decided to leave after 27 years. So it was a tough decision made. But I felt that this opportunity, I was going to have the freedom to do what I wanted to do. And if it didn't work out, well, I'd live with the consequences. So the idea of doing something that was connecting mind, body and spirit together and the whole person, and trying to change this dysfunctional team to a cohesive team of trust was something that I was really interested in. And Niamh and the team had a proposition of us doing an 18-month pilot program that would help us work through those experiences and to get the team onto the same page, and give me in the course of that the freedom to lead the way I wanted to lead, which was as my authentic self. The results after the program was that we had a shared vision as a subsidiary and a team to be able to win a competition that Microsoft held every year, which was Sub of the Year. And Sub of the Year is defined by not just your business results, but your scorecard performance, your market share performance. And we grew the business over 30% year on year. We grew our market share, and we became the for 3 years in a row, we were number 2 for 2 years in the Sub of the Year, and then we ultimately won the Sub of the Year competition. And my belief is that is down to the work that we did with Niamh and the team in trying to unpeel the onion that was the complexity of the team and the things that were blocking us, and how we could move forward and work together. And in that process, the team changed. So we had some people who came totally on the journey with us, and others who didn't come on the journey and moved into new roles or left the team, and new people came in. So it was an interesting wave of change that we worked through, but a very exciting time for us. And I learned a huge amount myself personally in the type of leader I wanted to be. But I also learned a lot from Niamh in her courage to kind of hold the mirror up to us when we weren't being authentic. So all the things that I had said I wanted to be, Niamh was the one that was behind me, kind of showing the mirror when I didn't show my authenticity, or when she felt I was putting on a mask and pretending to be something that I wasn't. So that was the kind of the start of the journey, and we'll cover why we're back here now and where that journey has brought us.
Do you want to give any moment that stands for you when I held the mirror up? Because this has been a kind of a process for both of us, and like you've done that for me as much as I was doing it for you. So do you want to give any, crucial moment that you felt the mirror, there was a critical moment where it was really important that the mirror was held up and there was value in that?
Yeah, and I think we reflected on this one recently, even in the experiences that we did in that 18 months. There was lots of different things that we did, whether it was the mandala or the gong baths or the labyrinth walk or the silent lunches. And so there was lots of different things. And there was some parts of those that pushed me out of my comfort zone, doing some of the physical exercises or even the mental reflection. And I remember, Niamh, we came together and I pushed back saying, no, didn't like that. We shouldn't be doing that. That wasn't something that worked for me or the team. And you were curious as to my reaction, that you pushed me on that edge to a level of discomfort. And I wasn't buying it at all. But then we went back into a reflection piece with the team, and some members of the team got a huge amount out of the work that we had done. And it was a real aha moment to me to just, that you have to be open to understanding where other people are coming from, what their perspective is, and that it's not always just your lens that you look through. And I think you have been very reflective over the years of pushing me to look at different lenses and to get to the edge of my discomfort. And with that comes a lot of learning, a huge amount of learning.
Yeah, and so I'd like to share my ahas with Cathriona along the way. So one of the first ones for me, which we were giggling the other day about it. So I was going up with a team, and I suppose what I would say is, over the years, because this has been an evolution, there have been tough calls I've made that I have felt some people aren't aligned to the true values of what I'm trying to do. And one of the true values is that it's not a space where we're teaching. You don't come here to be taught. It's a space where you come to connect with your own wisdom. And that's why, and that doesn't align for everybody that might have 500 letters after their names and has done buckets of training. But that's what I'm creating here, because I believe we have huge wisdom within us if we're given proper space and conditions to connect with it. But I remember thinking it was just one of those brilliant moments where we went up to meet Cathriona, and I went up, I called them the squad team. We went up, and I wasn't sure when I was sitting waiting, going into Microsoft, did I actually want to be back doing this corporate work? And I was like, do I really want to be here? I was in a stuffy dress with high heels, really uncomfortable. All of us with the parasuits. And we went up into the room, and I remember thinking, we're selling, we're performing. I don't want to do this anymore. And we met Cathriona, who was the most relaxed person I think I've ever met. She looked like she was going to the beach. She's, really comfortable, really herself. And I remember giggling to myself thinking, here we are trying to teach her how to be herself, when it was just a first for me that I met this really powerful woman in this really influential position that was just being her complete self. And I remember going, I want to work with her. She is someone I want to work with. But then there was another moment where you were so kind and graceful when it was going horribly wrong in one of the sessions, because I had brought stuff up about my role as a woman, as a leader, being pregnant and the challenges. And it went down like a lead balloon, because actually what it was in the room was there was a really toxic bro culture. Now, I didn't realize that. We were too early on the day to realize the power of the work we were doing. But I was voicing what a lot of the women were experiencing. And it was pretty grim. I remember there was a horse. I could see this horse out the window, and I wanted to jump on the horse, gallop off, and never be seen again. It was so uncomfortable. And we had to take a break, and everyone was freaking out. The facilitation team were freaking out with me, going, that was a disaster. This is career suicide. You just killed my career. And Cathriona came in and was so gracious and so kind to me and said, you know what, I'm not sure that's kind of working, or it's not landing. Can we pick it up? And when we went back in, I remember just thinking, wow, she was so kind, so gentle. And in the end, it was perfect, because what revealed itself was what I had named was a grenade. And it was so uncomfortable because someone was speaking the truth. Now, we went through a process and it was fabulous. But it was Cathrionia's grace and kindness was a teaching for me. And I suppose of sitting through the discomfort. So we bring people to the edge in the dialogue. And so if I am bringing you to an edge, it's because there's a power in it, and you find a new edge. So that's to give you a sense about what we're doing. But to give you some context, I went back. I had to leave down the dialogue when I realized I was pregnant with my fourth child. It just, even though I had all the work done, the case studies done, it wasn't timing personally. So I put the work down, and I was home for about 2 years, dying to get back out into the world with it. And I sent Cathriona a text message. It was a Friday. And Cathriona, I think you're on the way to this meeting. Mm-hmm. But I asked for a meeting. I asked, could we meet? We hadn't been in touch for a few years. I'd been at home childminding and rearing my children. And I sent a text, and I got an immediate message back saying, I have a slot from 9 to 10, and you can, come and meet. Now, this is what was going on for Cathriona that day. And yet, it was one of those moments where you go, wow, she is a leader, because she was dealing with the most powerful people in the world, and yet she had the kindness to text back a stay-at-home mom. So it's one of those moments I'll always appreciate. But Cathriona, can you share what was going on for you that day and why we decided to kick this off again?
Yeah, so I think so that particular day, for people who don't know, I got the absolute privilege of hosting the Microsoft board, and it was their first ever trip outside of the US, and we had convinced them to come to Ireland. So some of the most powerful people in industry were in Ireland. We got to meet the Irish government as part of that trip, and then we also got to have an employee event, which was the second picture. So probably one of the most memorable and proudest days for me when I was in Microsoft was that day. And And Niamh met me the next day, I think it was, or 2 days afterwards, and she saw that I was broken in some way post that. So I should have been coming in on a high, kind of bouncing around the room with the excitement of having that host. But the challenge behind all of that was the pressure that I was getting from the peer group that I had at the time, around, claiming the limelight or being that figurehead for the company, which was my job, by the way. But each one of them felt that they should have had a piece of that. And there was a lot of anxiety for me, challenge for me to stand up to that and to be really clear and proud and be able to say to them, this is my job. This is what I'm being asked to do. If you want to do that, then apply for my job. But I'm not going to change who I am or what I am because of the pressure or anxiety. And I think for me, Niamh, that's the world we're all living in. We should be helping each other up, not pulling each other down. And I think the community work that we're doing with the Dialogue Code, especially for people in those senior leadership roles, is so important, because it's a very lonely space to be when you're leading a company and you have to show up every day and you have to represent every day, and not having that community to be part of, to support you, to share your anxiety with, or to bounce your ideas off is very, very difficult. So we had a conversation then, I think after that, but we also talked about the fact that at the time, which was pre-COVID, we were at full employment in Ireland, and there wasn't enough people in the market for us to continue to grow the business. And we needed to find a way to, how do we re-engage the female community, people who had become stay-at-home moms, who had decided to the rat race, similar to yourself, who burnt out and said, I've had enough of this. We needed to find a way to bring them back into the community, bring them back into the workforce, and find what were those blockers that were stopping people from re-engaging into society or into the work environment. So we started a conversation then about how do we do this, and that was some of the work you did in UCC. And then COVID hit, and oh my God, everybody was working from home. There was a new world that's evolved from COVID that is around hybrid. It is opening doors for everybody to work in a different way. But in order to really be successful in doing that, there's a new type of leadership needed. There's a new level of courage to shake the status quo, to do things differently, to be a more empathetic leader, to be more authentic. And this is, I think, a burning platform that is now the perfect opportunity for the Dialogue Code to ignite and be relevant for so many people and so many leaders. And I'm really excited about where we will go from here, because I think time is everything. There is a time, and now is the time, I think, for the Dialogue Code. So it's a great platform. So all of the people in this community that are here with us today have an opportunity to shape the future world of work. And I think it's an exciting opportunity.